Okay, we're recording. Welcome everyone to our first library orientation webinar of the semester. Welcome to my class and welcome to Matt Cochis' class. Hopefully everyone already looked over that information literacy refresher that you guys had. That'll kind of give you the foundation for what our librarian Martin Crabtree is going to present to you today. And this is going to be very helpful to you as you work on your research log and your essay. You'll see that we have a chat feature. If you have any questions along the way, you can chat, you can type in your question, and then at the end, you know, there should be a little time for you to even ask questions. If you want to put yourself back on video or unmute your mic, you can even ask them that way as well. All right, with that, I will hand it over to Martin Crabtree.
Okay, thank you. And Matt and Jackie, if you see somebody's asked a question and I'm just in the zone here, give me a shout and stop me from talking so we can answer the questions. Okay, get myself set up here to show everybody what we need to see. And get over to Zoom and share my desktop. Okay, let's go. Share screen. Share screen. Okay. There we go. Resume slideshow. Everybody sees my screen okay?
Yep.
Yay. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Martin Crabtree from the library. We're going to talk about informational type things and such. Things I want to talk about today. I want to talk a little bit about peer-reviewed scholarly journals. You'll be asked to use this kind of information in this course as well as other courses if you haven't already. I just want to talk about what this information is, what you can expect to find and such when you use this information for your coursework and such. I want to spend a little time talking about computer searching and moving towards becoming more effective searchers. We've all been to the, excuse me, the magic box called Google. It finds us stuff, but really it can move towards becoming more effective, efficient searchers when you're looking for information, and want to talk about some tools and techniques you can use to help you get into the information a little more quickly. Because really the objective of using a tool like Google, a database for searching, going to Amazon to shop for things. You got a box, you put some words into it, and you want to get results that are meaningful and will accomplish whatever task you're trying to do quickly and such. So I'll talk about some things that hopefully get you a little more effective and efficient. Talk about using the databases just a little bit. I understand you should have been through the refresher for 102, so we'll still talk about a few aspects of the databases and such, and also want to make sure we give credit to the authors of the work you're using other people's thoughts, words, and ideas, and want to make sure that you give credit to those people when you do use their information. I always start, though, with my shameless plug for the library. The library is here to help you. That's what I do. That's what we're here to do. So if you need help with your coursework, with your research and such, please feel free to reach out to us. You can contact us, email, call, stop on by the library here on the either campus, West Windsor or James Kearney campus. We're here to help. That's what we really want to do. Because my goal for all of you is for you to be a successful student. That's what I want to do. That's kind of my own personal mission, if you will. I want to make sure that everybody has all the informational skills and all the information you need to do whatever coursework you need to do. I mean, most of the responsibility for your success is in your lap. I mean, you attend the classes, do the homework, take the tests, do the readings, do the labs, whatever it might be. I can help you with the information. If you need information, please ask. Be glad to help you find that information. Now, I'm not just going to give it to you either. I'll give you a heads up on that. I want to help you find it because I want you to understand the process of finding information as well, because I want everybody to be good finders and users of information also. My belief is that a successful student is good at finding information, but is also good at understanding when you hit a dead end, you can't find, you get confused, whatever. You know there are people like myself that can help you out. So please ask. I want to talk about scholarly information for a moment and just what is this stuff. In the broadest sense of the term, scholarly information is nothing more than information written by an expert in some field of study. This expert has used all the right research methods and such to put together good, high-quality information research information in most cases. And it can really take any format. Most of it's in some sort of printed, written format, either a printed journal, an online journal, or databases, books, things like that. But you can have scholarly films and other formats of information also. So it's not strictly just looking at printed things and such. And college level work really expects you to use this kind of information. As you move forward in your college career, maybe you finish here at Mercer, go on to get a 4-year degree, maybe go to graduate school, you're going to be using the scholarly journals more and more and more, and becoming familiar with how they are, how they're laid out, how to kind of leverage the information in it is an important skill to have to, kind of be successful in college, because again, you can do it effectively and efficiently. I know for myself, when I was in graduate school, for example, I had one course where it was just reading scholarly journals. This is librarianship graduate school. And, every class period, we had a couple of journal articles. We had to read through them, had to tear into them, look at them in depth, carefully. And the instructor was, very strict, kind of old school kind of a instructor. And he just expected you to understand every aspect of it, to challenge the assumptions made by the authors, question, the research method. Did it really, do what it was supposed to do and such? You can really get wrapped up in these things. And you'll be using them for this course. So I want to talk about what you can expect from a generic article. You pick the subject area, be it, sociology, physics, medicine, librarianship. It's written by a scholar, an expert in that field of study. And that author assumes you, the reader, are also an expert in that same field of study. So if it's a psychology article, the author assumes you're an expert in the field of psychology. You may not be as a student. Consequently, you may, have to look a few words up, maybe pull out another resource, an encyclopedia or something to understand some of the terminology or things that they might refer to. Scholarly journals are going to be long. You're not going to find a 2-page journal article. They just really aren't there. 10, 15, 20 pages average. I really don't even start thinking, of talking about long till I get, maybe past 40, 45 pages. And I'm starting to think that's a pretty long article. The appearance of these things, very plain. There's no real, eye candy or anything else that goes with it. And they're just there to give you the facts. You think of something like at the checkout line at a supermarket, it's sitting there on that rack at the belt waiting for you to look at it and hopefully set it down with your groceries and buy it. So they do everything they can to attract your attention and everything else. Scholarly journals, they don't need to do that. The people that are interested in this field of study will seek these things out, and they look in many ways a lot like a book. Now, there's a kind of an art to reading a scholarly journal article as well. And again, when you become familiar with how these things are laid out and the flow of the information and such, you'll find that there are places, particularly in a course like English 102, where you can just kind of, breeze through some portions and focus your attention on other portions of a journal article. The journal articles are broken up into kind of a standardized sections. Again, they might not all have the same headings, but the flow is the same and such, and you'll start, recognizing this as you work your way through a number of journal articles. And as I said, you won't have to, focus all your attention on every aspect, every single page of, say, a 20-page long article. So to start with the article, you have the abstract. It's a summary of what the article's about. And that's an important place to focus some attention, because this will tell you whether it's even worth your time to read the rest of the article. So I encourage you to read this carefully to decide whether you're going to move on to that article or find something different that may work better for you. An opening section, sometimes called introduction, you'll see the term literature review used and such. These are this is the opening statements by the authors, by the researchers. Here's the research we're doing. Here's why we chose to do this research. When you do research of this nature, you're building on the backs of other research. Some researcher found something out, some new information, some new knowledge, but every time we find something out, it seems to ask, a whole bunch more questions. And often researchers kind of try to answer some of these unanswered questions from previous research. So they'll talk about the previous research that's been done in this area of study and why they chose to go where they are. So they may talk about other research that's happened as well. Next section often finds the methods section. How do we do it? How did we actually collect the data? How did we structure this experiment, this research? Did we interview people? Did we pull out medical records and look at people's medical histories? Did we, do a laboratory experiment? There are many different ways that you can kind of explain, how you actually did this. This is one of these sections where you're not going to want to focus as much attention on, because how they did the research isn't as important for you as the user of the information in, say, a course like this. Now, granted, if you were, say, studying to be a sociologist, you're a senior in a sociology program at some university, and you're reading these things, you're probably going to want to understand how did they do this, because this is the kind of work you'll be doing once you graduate. So, the need to read things differently if it's your field of study does exist. The next section, the results. Here's the numbers we got. Here's the data. And, they'll present all this data. They'll discuss it. They'll use quite often statistics and such to kind of extrapolate and say the data we collected actually will ring true statistically for everybody. You can't interview everybody. You can't, pull out the medical records of everybody. So you pull out a sampling of people. And then you can use statistics to kind of say, given the results we had, given how strong this was the case or whatever, we feel extremely confident that we can translate this and say this would be the case for everybody, even though we didn't actually interview everybody or measure everybody or something like that. The final section is a discussion. What do the results do for us? What have they told us? What have we learned? What new knowledge have I, the researcher, generated for human beings? And this is, again, an important portion to start focusing your attention again. How they did it, what they got as the results, not important. You kind of breeze through it. I would, at least look at the methods enough to understand how they collected the information. Was it a laboratory experiment? Was it, interviews? Was it a survey and things like that? Because when they get into the discussion, sometimes you need to understand how it was done. But the details of it, again, don't need to pay close attention. The bibliography at the end of the article, it's a list of sources. Sometimes it's titled references, works cited in MLA formatting. This is the websites, the articles, the interviews, the books, everything the author used in preparing the research for publication appears at the end of the article. At the end of every article, you'll find a bibliography, a list of sources, websites, interviews, books, articles, all the stuff the author used in preparing the research for publication appears at the end of each article. Now, I said bibliography twice. I did it on purpose. And the reason I did that, because that list of sources, we call them the individual listing citations. These citations can help you out. And again, research really, the kind of research you're doing in a course like this, particularly when you get into longer research things, an 8-page term paper, something like that, where you need multiple sources. You want to cut corners wherever you can. That's where most of the efficiency will come. Use that list of sources. Each individual listing we call a citation. Look that over, because that author has handed you on a silver platter a whole bunch of other sources on or close to the same subject as the article you're holding in your hand. And if it's a great article for your research, guess what? There's a whole bunch of great things in that list as well. Why spend your time searching through databases, searching through Google, whatever? Look through this list first. You may find plenty of information, maybe even enough to complete an assignment. Now, the citations are brief. Author, title, date, and that's about it. So if you run in, when you want something like that, ask me. I'm the information person. That's where I can help you. Just show me, I want this article, fourth one on the list. I have enough information. I will get it for you. Now, it may take me some time to get it for you. It may be simple. Oh, it's in one of our databases. Here it is on the screen. Off you go. Maybe it's physically in our library. We subscribe to the publication. You can stop by and read it or make a copy or whatever you need to do. I know places to look on the internet and such that maybe not everybody looks, and such, and I might be able to find you a copy online outside of doing strictly a common Google search. If I need to, I'll find a library in this country, in the world, if I have to, that has what you want. I'll have them make a copy, send it to us, and put it in your hands. If I have to go that far, it can take a little bit of time, so you have to plan accordingly if I need to go that far to get you information. But anything you need, I'll get it for you. So always use that list of citations. It really, really helps you out. Now I want to kind of work my way over. I just want to show you a journal article real quickly, have one up on the screen, pick something that seemed a little bit relevant. But if we kind of work our way down the article, here's the abstract I mentioned right here. And we have the opening discussion. They really don't name it anything. But as we work our way down the pages a little bit, and you see it's just words and more words. Here's the methods section where they talk about how they actually executed this research. And work our way down some more, and we get into the data analysis, another term for results and such. And quite often when you get into the data stuff, you'll ultimately see some charts, some graphs, things like that. This is where they kind of try to make it clear just what the results were like. You'll sometimes see statistical calculations and such included in here as well. And working our way down a little bit further, here's discussion of the results. Here's where they talk about the results. Again, this is a part where we want to focus some attention because quite honestly, in English 102, it seems to me, and professors, you can kind of support me on this or chime in if you want, but it's really, this is the part of the journal articles where often you find the information you use in your essays and such is in this discussion. And again, we work our way down a little bit further. And then we get into the references list. Here are all those citations, those sources that the author used. So just want to show you what it looks like because you don't always see just kind of how severe it is, how it's laid out and such. So I wanted to make sure you got to see a journal article in the flesh, so to speak. Now I want to talk about computer searching a little bit. As I said before, we've all done this. We've been to Google. We found things. But we really, I want to talk for a moment about what's happening when you actually execute a computer search. I put a word into a box, I click search, an instant later I have results. I want to talk about that instant between I click search and when we get the results on the screen. Say, for example, I put the word Trenton into the search box and execute a search. That search tool will not look for Trenton as we people know it. Instead, what we'll find, it will look for just a series of letters. Computers only know to look for letters. It's matching up patterns of letters. So a computer looks for T next to R next to E next to N, etc., and not for Trenton as we people know it. Consequently, if we just put that one word in, every use of that word Trenton, be it Trenton, New Jersey, Trenton, Alabama, Trenton, Michigan, Trenton, Missouri, Trenton, Texas, there are a bunch of them. In the U.S., outside the U.S., other uses of the word, Battle of Trenton, George Washington crossing the Delaware River, maybe somebody's name's Trenton, it all gets dumped into the list. And, that makes for a kind of a cumbersome list to have to work through. The first step in effective, efficient searching is thinking about the keywords, the words you put into the box. What would be, some good words that I could use that would help me find what I want? Imagine having a perfect article, a perfect website on the screen. What words and such would that author have used? And I know that your research log kind of has you work on that a little bit. You take your first writings and you kind of look for it. What are the important words? What are the keywords within my writing that I might want to find out more about or really speaks to the topic that I'm kind of discussing? And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. You can manipulate your keywords to better define what you want. Connecting keywords with and, not, or. Sometimes you'll see Boolean searching, Boolean logic used, named after George Boole, a mathematician from about 150 years ago. So for example, I'm doing research on dogs. For whatever reason, I don't like poodles. I got bit by a poodle when I was 11 years old. I've never liked that kind of dog since, whatever it might be. I could do a search, dogs, not poodles. I can get all the dog information I need, but if they mention that breed of poodle, it gets thrown off the list. I can group things together. Sometimes the term nesting is used to describe the process with parentheses. Example I have on the screen, freedom or liberty and slavery. I'm looking at, say, maybe Revolutionary War times or something, these concepts of freedom, of liberty, how does that play into this concept of slavery and kind of the disjoint that happens between these concepts? But I kind of have myself covered. I have both freedom and the word liberty included. Either one or both will hit for me as long as that word slavery is there as well. If you're looking for a phrase, words that are in a specific order, tell that search tool that's the only way you'll accept it by using quotation marks. Quotes lock a string of words together. global warming, United States of America, Mercer County Community College. A proper name, Abraham Lincoln, same thing. Put it in quotes, it locks those words together. Now I have to warn you, don't get carried away with using the quotes. Single words do not need quotation marks. It's redundant. Again, we're trying to save time wherever we can. 2 less keystrokes every time you search for a word. You don't need to put it for a single word. Multiple words, yes. Also, full sentences or close to it. Again, it doesn't work very well because you're asking that search tool to find an exact sentence, word for word for word for word. And the chances that what you wrote down as your topic idea or maybe the topic sentence, for your research, few people may have written it exactly in that order. So you want to kind of look for the important words within the sentence. Now, granted, if it's an important quote, 7 years ago, something like that, yeah, you can do it then without a problem. But if you're just using it for, say, general research, you don't want to get carried away on that front. Now, I want to try something here. And what I want to do is say you're doing some research and you're researching people between the ages of 13 and 19 years old. And you're also researching the aspect of smoking. Say it's looking at advertising and how it affects people in this age range and their decision to begin or to continue smoking. Now, if you would, folks, to the participants, if you would what keywords could we use to describe these people between the ages of 13 and 19 years? And what I need to do is see how I can get that on the screen. Chat. There we go. So what words might come to mind if we're talking about people between 13 and 19? What words might you use? So just kind of chime in with whatever comes to mind. Underage, young adult, there we go. Exactly. These are the sorts of things that we may search. Adolescents. There we go. Teens. There are a lot of things. Teenagers. There are a lot of terms you could use to describe these people. And I did some thinking myself, and I kind of came up with this list. There we go. This may not be a complete list, but again, it just kind of points out how there are multiple words that may talk about a given concept. The same thing with smoking. There are many things we could use to kind of talk about it, and I was kind of thinking tobacco smoking. I didn't even go outside of that, really. So, there's even more that we could discuss beyond then. But just to point out that there are multiple words that you could use when you're doing your research. One tip, you have a couple thrown in here. I already talked about the bibliography. This is another one that can be quite helpful. Allow your initial search successes to help you out. A lot of times you're doing some research, you don't know exactly, you don't have the proper words, you haven't thought of all those words like we, kind of talked about with teenagers a moment ago. Consequently, allow your first search successes to help you out. I'm sure you've had the experience in the past where you're kind of struggling to find some things that kind of work for you for some research, and you finally find something that's good enough. Not quite sure if I'm going to use it, but let me print it out or bookmark it or do something to capture it so I can go back to it later. Next time you run into that situation, or really anytime you're doing research and you're not quite, sure you have it quite right, just, look at those first successes. Rather than just save them and move on, ask yourself, why did I like it? What made this one better than everything else? Did the author use terms, concepts, or something like that I hadn't thought of that I could feed back into the box? I might have searched for teenagers, hadn't even thought of using the word adolescent. And then here I see, particularly when you start looking at scholarly journals, the language of the scholars sometimes is a little different than what people kind of, around the, the dining room table kind of talk. So you might run into situations where I hadn't thought of that term, but it's a good one to use, and that's what the scholars are using to talk about it. So sometimes it can be very helpful to find some added keywords and such in your searching. Now I want to talk about the research process for a moment. Research is not trying to hit a bullseye. I mean, if I'm doing searching in a database, something like that, and I'm talking about kind of large research, I need multiple sources. I got to get, I'm trying to, write a major paper here or something like that, it's not that I want to find out who hit the most home runs, in the American League in 2014 or some little fact or something like that. It's not trying to hit a target. If you just, kind of, oops, I'm missing a slide. There it is. You're not trying to hit a bullseye. The objective is not to put the right words into a box and keep striving over and over and over to, hit a bullseye. Research is really more like a meandering path. You're kind of constantly moving forward, maybe not quite in a straight line, and you're gathering bits and pieces of information as you kind of work your way through things. And that's kind of how to expect research to go for something, a more, large, robust kind of, researchy type stuff for college. It's not, coming up with exactly the right words and focusing all your attention there. And I want to give you a warning as well. Don't put on the blinders. Don't get kind of locked into certain words and these are the only ones that I can use or something like that. It might not happen to you right now, but maybe it happens down the road a piece. But allow yourself that flexibility with the keywords. I've had a number of times over the years where students come into the library, they ask for my help in finding information for a research assignment, and we start doing work. Say it's a question about teenagers. And, we start, maybe start with teenagers like, oh, here, let's try adolescence. And sometimes students will put on the brakes and say, no, I can't use that word. It's not written on the paper that my teacher gave me. I have to stick with just these terms. And really, you have to allow yourself that flexibility, allow your results to help guide you towards all the information that you need. Now, I just want to do a quick database check. I know that you were expected to go through the refresher tutorial and such. So I just want to make sure, is everybody able to get onto the databases? Is everybody able to access the databases remotely from off campus and things like that? If anybody's having trouble, please just kind of, put in a quick, I'm having trouble, something like that into the chat. When I'm finished here, we can spend a moment. It's usually pretty easy and quick to fix. If not, I can get your name and we can get you squared away real quickly. But I want to make sure everybody's been able to get in the past. So want to make sure you have your username, your password. If I need to review that, I can as well. We'll see if you don't know what to do, also type that in the chat and let me know so that we can actually, so I can review that again in case somebody's not sure, okay?
So it looks like
when you did not, does that mean you're not able to get in, Leslie, or you have not, or you do not know how to actually do it? You don't know how to. Okay, let me just step out real quickly and just kind of mention how to do it. Let's see, where is my slides? Here we go. Real quickly, slide here. You need two pieces of information to log in. The first is your MyMercer name. You should know that from any time you're going into your account here at the college. It's usually in the format first name dot last name. And the password is your last name. It's not your birth date. So you're used to using MyMercer, last name, birth date. It almost happens reflexively, one right after the other. You got to put on the brakes. You put in your last name. It's not case sensitive. Doesn't matter whether you use uppercase or not to do it. But that's what you need to put in to access our databases. The login screen looks like this. So if you try to enter the databases when you're off campus, you'll be stopped by this screen. I'm currently on the campus. So when I do step out into the databases for a moment, I won't have this login screen show up. But if you're at home and you try to follow along or go to do it later on, you'll find that you'll be stopped by this screen first. And again, it's your MyMercer name in the first box. Last name goes in the second box. And there is contact information at the bottom of the screen, so that if you do indeed need to get some help or whatever, you can contact us. As I said before, it's an easy fix once we're aware of it. If you actually call us during our open hours here at the library, it rings a telephone right by the computer that has the password information. We'll look it up. We'll tell you what you ought to be doing or fix something on our end if that needs to happen. Problems are rare. I wouldn't say they're extremely rare, but they're unusual. They don't happen very often. The most common error students make is by far they put in the whole My Mercer stuff, My Mercer name and your birth date. It's not your birth date, it's your last name. Can't stress that enough. So hopefully that will give you enough to work with right now. And if you do have trouble down the road a piece, please contact us. You can email me directly, whatever. Like I said, it's easy to fix if anybody's having problems getting into the databases themselves. Just want to mention a couple databases you may wish to do some searching in. Academic Search Premier from the EBSCOhost company. ProQuest Central from the ProQuest company. They're broad databases. They cover many subject areas. They're the two most heavily used here at the college. They're used a lot by English 102 because of their broad nature. It's not like this is an education class or a criminal justice class or something like that where you need kind of focused information. A lot of the research in English 102 can be a little bit broader, and it allows you kind of that flexibility to look across disciplines and such in a topic, a subject, a little more easily. You might find, though, that, down the road a piece, your research kind of points you in a specific direction. I'm really looking at a sociology aspect of this topic. Let me look at the sociology information and maybe focus your research later on. We also have MERSearch, and we'll show that to you in just a moment. MERSearch is kind of a broad coverage thing. Talk about it in just a sec. Databases will help you with MLA as well. MERSearch kind of takes the shotgun approach to kind of searches multiple databases all in one shot. So it's not just ProQuest Central. It searches a lot of things, other resources we have as well. Sometimes MERSearch can be quite helpful to get you started. If you're not quite sure what's out there, my topic's really loose, I'm not sure where I'm going with it yet. Sometimes it can give you kind of that real kind of panoramic view of everything that's out there. Can help you identify added keywords, and sometimes it can help also. There are drawbacks to it. Sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming. Sometimes you get too much stuff in a MERSearch search, and the ability to search for just articles, I'll show it to you in just a moment, can kind of narrow it down a little bit. Quite often you'll find, when students use MERSearch to begin their research, ultimately they kind of like, okay, I kind of know where I'm going now. Let me get into the databases. And quite often you'll kind of step from MERSearch into subject-specific or a broad database like ProQuest Central to actually, finish up and really kind of get into the real nitty-gritty of your research and such. Now, before we get into the databases itself, I came up with a few keywords to do some searching if we need to, but I thought I'd open up to the group if anybody's done some thinking about the research log, has come up with a few keywords that they'd like to try or whatever. Please type them in, and I can certainly use those for an example. So we'll give you a moment if anybody wants to put anything in, make a suggestion, be glad to use it. Otherwise, I'll use the terms that I have in mind. Okay, well, I'll step out with mine then. I'm going to step out to the internet now, to the library's homepage. The library's homepage looks like this. If you've used the library's website in past semesters, you will find that our homepage has changed a little bit. We've redesigned it a bit over the summer. What you want to kind of focus on right now, partly, is over here in the databases. The database link here will get you to the list of databases that you may be familiar with, either grouped by subject or an alphabetical listing going A to Z by title of the database. Just about everybody uses it by subject, so I encourage you to go into the subject end of things, go down to general for the broad databases or social sciences, humanities, or whatever, depending on what you need. MERSearch is right in the middle here. This is where you can put in some of your search terms and such as well. And I'm going to put in a couple here just to kind of show you what happens here. Heroism and perception. going to try these two terms. I use the and to kind of connect them together. I'm going to ask for just articles. The articles plus will include books and other resources as well, and sometimes I find that's a little bit kind of too much. So I'm going to just go for the articles. I'm going to ask for peer-reviewed information, so I'm going to check the box. Give me the more scholarly stuff and such. Execute the search. And from here, I can work my way through the results. Children's responses to heroism in the, oh boy, Roald Dahl's Matilda. Oh, yeah, of course. So again, talking about a book, heroism within a specific book and such, I can step into this article here. Clicking on the title will step me into the article and such. And I get the information here. This article is in the PDF format. I'll have to click on this link to actually view it. And off to the other side, these are the links that will allow me to print, to email, to get the citation for the article here. Click on that. It gives me a list. If I work my way down to MLA, I can grab the MLA citation from here. Going back to my results, when you're using MERSearch, you will find that some things talk about a full text finder. The full text finder is kind of an added step that sometimes needs to happen the way MERSearch does its searching. You kind of have to go through an extra step to actually get into some of the databases, because it's going to step you outside of this spot right here and take you into another database. So clicking on the full text finder will then start moving us towards actually finding it, telling us where it found it. And then from here, if I click on it, it now steps me into the information, so I can kind of grab it that way if I so choose. For those that haven't used the databases in the past, I want to point these out as well real quickly. Databases by subject. We've broken them down broadly by subject area. You click on the link on the left side, brief description of what each one contains, so you can figure out what works for you. The general category here, again, academic search, ProQuest Central will allow you to execute your searches here as well. So either way, whatever works for you, they all contain a lot of good information for us. I do want to give a shout out to the abstracts of articles. I pointed it out when I showed the articles earlier. I mentioned it's something you want to read. Databases supply abstracts to the articles many times, particularly when you're looking at scholarly journals and such. You have a newspaper article, it's only 2 paragraphs long. They may not write an abstract for something that brief. But for most journal articles, you get an abstract, a summary of what's going on. Use it to help you to decide what's the good usable stuff for your research. Again, no need to read a lengthy article to decide you don't like it after all that time. Quickly use that. It helps you make the decision more effectively, efficiently, and you can start looking at the information that really will matter for your research. And again, save yourself some time. So much of effective research is about cutting corners. Finally, I just want to give credit to the authors of the work you're using. You're using other people's thoughts, words, and ideas, and you need to give them credit. You're using the MLA formatting in this class, and you're using facts, ideas, concepts, conclusions, and the actual words that people had given you, and you use that in your essays. And what you're expected to do is not just kind of summarize what somebody else said, but actually kind of weave it into your essay. You dump the information up here in your head, and then you roll it around, and then you incorporate it into what you're saying. You use it to support your arguments. I think this, but just because I think it's not good enough. Here are 2 other, researchers that support what I'm saying. What I'm saying has been supported by evidence, by credible research and such. So you want to make sure you give credit to these people. That's what you're expected to do, because really a lot of college learning is learning how to learn. Every course you take in college does not necessarily tie directly into your major. I mean, you might be majoring in, sociology, but you still have to take a math class. You still have to take a science class. You take classes outside of what you think might be the specifics for your field of study. But in these other classes, you're still learning how to learn, how to gather information, how to gather knowledge, and put it up here so you can reuse it, remember it, reapply it, things like that. And believe me, when you finish your college career and you're out there working, the people that do a good job at thinking and applying what they know are really the cherished people. The people that come into work one day and say, let's try doing our whole work differently. Let's rearrange this here. Have you do this instead, and we do that. And lo and behold, you've just improved efficiency, improved output. You made more money for the business or for yourself or whatever. Really that's what's expected to be done. And what your researcher, what your professors are looking for when you're doing your research is how well have you gathered that information and used it. I mean, you come up with this great idea for work. It's not because you just thought of it one day out of the blue. You read an article 9 months ago about a company that did something similar in a totally different business, but you recognize the potential for reapplying that somewhere else. Really important. MLA formatting is what you're using. 8th edition, the book, we have it here in our library. So if you need to look at it, seek sort of the definitive source that talks everything MLA, we have it here. It's not something we can make available to you online. The 8th edition is the current edition of the of MLA. If any of you are using a book called The Curious Researcher, The Curious Researcher does not contain 8th edition stuff. It's still using 7th edition. So I know that book talks about MLA citations some. Some of the information in there is not up to date. They haven't issued a new edition yet since MLA changed things. The changes are all on the Works Cited page. So the list of sources at the end, that's where the changes are. The in-text stuff, the stuff in the parentheses after your sentences, no change between 7th and 8th. Just want to give you a heads up on that. To get to some citation help, we have it at our website as well. Clicking on the citation guide link will take you into the citation guide page that we have. For those that have used our website in the past, once you step past our homepage, our other pages do look similar to what we've had in the past. The box at the top has the links to the various things. Citation guides right here will take you to that. And the links at this page will take you to the OWL website, OWL for MLA, OWL for APA, and things like that. Online Writing Laboratory from Purdue University is what the OWL stands for. It's a great overview of everything MLA or APA, depending on the format you use. It's I use it a whole lot myself professionally. It's really handy to have. So if you're stuck, it answers most questions. Really, if a student has a question about, say, MLA formatting, probably 99.5% or so of the questions I get, I can answer it using the OWL site. Now, there's a lot of information out there. There's only so much time. And consequently, we want to make effective use of our time. I'm sure that this course is not everything that you eat, sleep, breathe, and dream about. You probably, you might have other courses, might have jobs, friends, family, meals, sleeping, all that kind of stuff. So when you're doing, research, craft a good search. Computer searching, is really about being effective and efficient. Craft a good search up front. Think for a moment about the keywords you use. Your research log has you doing it. It's kind of a structured, formalized way of doing it. But really, anytime, just about any research I do, I pause for a moment. What am I trying to find? What are the words that might work? And then I jump right in. I just don't throw something in and hope for the best. The Boolean searching, the and, not, or connectors, the phrases with the quotation marks, all these things will help you focus in because you're really taking a vast pie of information and trying to slice it down, narrow it down to the piece that has the kind of information you want so you can start taking that meandering path through that slice of the pie. Again, you're not trying to do a laser shot through the information to find just the right stuff and everything else. Database is a great source of information, contains high quality, reliable information. Your professors will not question the quality of the information you get out of our databases. You find something on the web, and when you put it in that MLA Works Cited list, it's real obvious which came from a website, which came from a database. So and again, we'll talk about that in another time, evaluating web information. Article abstracts help you find things quickly and easily. Allow your initial searches to help you out as well. Allow them to help improve your, what goes into the box. Databases will help you with MLA citations as well. So again, makes life a little bit simpler. Don't blindly accept the MLA citations. Occasionally they make a mistake here and there. Look them over and such just to make sure you don't, they haven't made a mistake. It's uncommon, but I wouldn't say, again, it's extremely rare. If you do need more help down the road a piece, please feel free to contact us. We have contact information up on the screen. If you go to the library's homepage and such, you can get the contact information from there. Because I want you to have the information you need. And whether you're actually here in our library, you're taking an online course, and you're nowhere near our library or campus, I still want to put that information, in your lap, on your screen, whatever it is, so that you can do the work you need to do for you to be successful. I thank you for your time and attention today, and we'll kind of open it up if anybody has any questions, anything else. Professors, if you have anything you'd like to chime in on, please speak up.
I don't have anything to add. Thank you, Martin. But if any of my students here have any questions, please feel free to, you can unmute your mic and you can ask them, or you can put it in the chat feature, whatever you like to do. Any confusions, questions, issues, things you'd like to ask while we're here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're here for you. And thank you again, Martin, for all those resources. They are going to be tremendously helpful for you.
Glad to do it. It's what I do. Also, just to mention, you notice I say emailing 24 hours a day. It's awfully close to being accurate. The director of libraries up well into the night. I know she checks email throughout the night to make sure if anybody needs help, she can help them out. So it may not be 100%, but her bedtime's around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning most nights. So she's up pretty late.
Martin, I don't know if you can see the chat, but
yeah, I can email you the PowerPoint. You can post it somewhere if you want.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Martin, maybe you could email to myself and Matt, and that way we could post it in our shells.
Yeah. Sure, no problem.
The more materials, the more help.
Any other questions? If there are no other questions, I'm just going to stop the recording.
Okay.
Then we can log off. So thanks again, Martin. Thanks, students, for attending. I'll
Thank
stop
you.
recording now.